The other night, I had a dream, and I don't usually share my dreams, but this one was so profound to me. It really stuck with me, and it's so synchronistic to today's message that I have to share it. In my dream, there were lots of people, but I could only see them if I was looking at them straight on, face to face. If I looked from the side or from behind, all I saw was an outline. I couldn't see who they were. And if I talked to them, if I was not face to face talking to them, that's the only time they could hear me. If I tried to talk, if I was behind somebody or on the side of someone, they couldn't hear me at all. We couldn't hug unless we were looking at each other face to face. And this was so much meaning for me. The meaning I gave it is that whatever happened in someone's past, whatever stories they're holding on to, whatever stuff is behind them doesn't matter. They can't really hear us unless we can see them. That we need to see people face to face, see who they really are, just see them, perceive them from our heart. And then we can hug, then we can connect, then we can have real conversations if we're able to be face to face, like straight on with somebody and see into their soul, see into their eyes. It's so much meaning to me because of what we're talking about today, Mary Magdalene, and how she saw Jesus, how she perceived him after the crucifixion, at the resurrection. Whether you believe in the literal resurrection of the body or not doesn't matter. She perceived him in her heart. She saw him with a vision of love. So many times we don't really see with our hearts. We see with our eyes that see appearances and distortions and things that we don't agree with. So there was an older couple named Fred and Hilda, and they lived in a small village, and Fred was the town baker. He was a tall, thin man with a sharp chin and a sharp, pointy nose. And he was well respected in the community because he was very talented as a baker, but he was also very righteous. And he was kind of standoffish to people because of his righteousness. His wife was the opposite. Hilda was short and round and bubbly and full of life and love, and people just loved being near her, being in her presence because she was so much fun. And Hilda needed love. She needed that kind of connection. But Fred didn't realize that, and one day he worked late and came home and found someone else in his bed. Now, everybody thought, word got out that this had happened. It was a small town. You know how people gossip. And word got out, and everyone thought that Fred was going to just kick her out of the house. But Fred, being a righteous Bible-reading man, let everybody know that he forgave her. Let everybody know. He was the forgiving type. And publicly is what he did. But privately, every time he looked at Hilda, he would seethe with anger. He would just be so mad and just hated her. And it just grew and grew and grew, like it does for all of us when we don't let go of our hurts. It weighs us down. It makes us heavy. And Fred was visited by an angel as his hatred grew, as his anger grew, and this angel decided to place a stone in his heart the size of a button every time he'd look at his wife with hatred. And so these pebbles were in his heart, and they just kept weighing him down because it just kept growing. And soon he couldn't even stand up, and the pain was so great. And he had a dream one night, and in his dream, the angel came to him, the one that was putting the stones in his heart, and he said, I can't take it anymore. What can I do? What do I need to do to get rid of this pain? And the angel said, you need magic eyes. And he's like, well, what are magic eyes? He said, those are the eyes of forgiveness. Those are the eyes that see beyond the hurt. And he said, but you don't understand. She betrayed me. I am right to be angry at her. I am right to hate her because she betrayed me. And the angel said, oh, you poor human. Yes, we have hurts in our life, but the hurt doesn't have to stay in the present. Let the hurt be in the past. And so he said, the angel said to Fred, do you want the magic eyes? And Fred said, I'm not ready for that. I'm still angry. And so Fred woke up, remembered the dream, but said, no way. No way, she betrayed me. I'm hanging on to this as long as I have to hang on to this anger and this hatred. And he just was heavy, 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 heavy. Until one day he just said, enough. I need to have those magic eyes. And so he yelled out loud, I need the magic eyes. And the angel gave him the magic eyes. And he started looking at his wife and really seeing her and looking at her face to face and seeing the loving, joyful person she was that everybody in the village knew her as. And looking past the pain. And every time he looked at her, another stone would be removed from his heart. And every time he looked at himself in the mirror, he started seeing the person he was, but he started realizing that he could change. And every time he looked at himself and saw himself with eyes of love, 2 stones were removed from his heart. And soon he was feeling lighter again, and life was joyful again. And his life was restored to him because he had forgiven. Because he had used magic eyes. He could truly see his wife and see himself, remembering who he was. So I share that story because there's someone from the past who was really able to see with her heart, and that's Mary Magdalene. And her story is one that's fascinating. She had this ability to perceive, this ability to see beyond the physical. Her feast day is this Wednesday, the 22nd. And so today we honor her, we celebrate her, because the Mary Magdalene in all of us can be alive if we allow it, if we use that perception, that ability to see with our heart. To see everyone with our heart. Not always an easy thing to do in this world. But let's talk about Mary Magdalene, and let's clear the slate about her for those of you that don't know much about her. First of all, Mary Magdalene, it was always thought she was called Mary Magdalene because it was thought that she was from the small fishing village called Magdala. Now, that could be the case, but many scholars now are thinking that it was a nickname, like Jesus gave Simon Peter the name which was a name for the rock. And Magdala means tower or beacon of light, or that a tower in its strength, that it stands up. It stands up to the elements. It stands up and to things, to challenges. It stands. So perhaps scholars say now that Mary Magdala was a nickname. Magdalene was a nickname off the word Magdala. Okay, take a deep breath. She was not a prostitute. There's no evidence of it anywhere. No evidence. But for many, many, many years, we've been told, or was told in the church, the Catholic Church in particular, that she was a prostitute. And this comes from the year 562 or 560, somewhere around there, AD. Pope Gregory declared from the pulpit that she was a prostitute. And this was to put women in their place, to not let women be seen as leaders, because it was a patriarchal society. The men of the time women were subhuman. Women had no status. How could they be leaders? And so to make Mary Magdalene, to erase her voice and erase her history and erase who she was, just call her a prostitute. That did it. And that did the trick for many years. Until 1962, the church said, we were wrong. There's no evidence anywhere. She's not a prostitute. In fact, she's the apostle of the apostles. The word apostle means someone sent forth, someone to give a message, someone sent out. And she was the one that was sent out from the resurrection. All four gospels in the Christian scriptures say she was the one that received the news first of the resurrection. And she was the one to go tell the other apostles. She was the apostle to the apostles. She wasn't given a feast day till 2016, finally bringing her status up to those of the other male apostles in the church. Finally, only 10 years ago. What else about Mary Magdalene? She has a gospel, the Gospel of Mary. Now, when the leaders of the time decided only 4 gospels were going to make it into the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, there were many, many gospels written at the time. And they were considered heretics. They were told to be destroyed. Of course, some people buried them instead. That's why we have Gnostic gospels that have been found and discovered. Mary's gospel was discovered in the late 1800s. It was not part of the Nag Hammadi Gnostic Gospels, the 52 manuscripts that were found in Egypt in 1945. It's not part of those, but her gospel was found. It started becoming, after World War II, is when it started becoming known. 3 different fragments of her gospel in 3 different places, 2 in Greek, 1 in Coptic. It's the old Egyptian language. 3 of them. So they date back to the 1st century, one of the oldest scriptures that we have original copies of. And it's a short gospel. It's only 19 pages and 10 of them are missing. So she has her own gospel. She has her own teaching. And in the gospel, she is the leader. She is teaching what she learned from Jesus to the other apostles. So she's just now coming into her own. People are starting to write, there's the last 10 years or so, starting to write books about her, starting to channel her work. She's just now, her teachings are starting to get known out there in the world. She's fascinating. She is one who can see what's true, what's really there, to see beyond what the ego wants to keep us from. Megan Watterson in Mary Magdalene Revealed says this: how we see anything changes everything. If how we see, truly see, is not with eyesight, but with a vision, a form of spiritual perception that allows us to know what's real, what's lasting, what's actually true, if this comes from within us, then no one has power over us. This, to me, is so profound. It means each one of us has our own spiritual authority. Each one of us can have this direct knowing. We don't need anyone to tell us In fact, nobody can tell us. We have to be able to take it into our hearts ourselves. And the Gnostic Gospels, all those Gospels that were meant to be destroyed, they're called Gnostic Gospels. Gnostic means self-knowledge. Self-knowledge through direct experience. Now you can imagine that the leaders of the time who wanted to control the people, control the masses, wouldn't want anyone to be able to have self-knowledge. So destroy those Gospels, destroy those manuscripts, those sacred texts, because that took away their control of people. So Mary Magdalene is the one that perceives Jesus, that sees Jesus. And I don't think it's a coincidence that in Unity, the seventh power in the month of July is understanding. In Unity, we have 12 spiritual powers that we teach. Each one of them we are using all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. Understanding is our ability to know, our ability to perceive, our ability to comprehend. Now, we can use this from just a sense consciousness. We know with our five senses. We understand things with our five senses, but we can also spiritually see. When we use the power of understanding from the highest version of ourselves, from our Christ consciousness, we can see, like I did in my dream, when face to face, see the person for who they really are. Or like Fred did after visiting the angel with magic eyes. We can really see someone. And that makes all the difference. It changes everything. And so these 12 powers that we have in Unity are also amazing teachings in themselves because we're always using them, and we can use them consciously to look for the Christ in each other. Linda Martella-Whitsett, who is facilitating our women's retreat this Friday and Saturday, wrote a book on the 12 powers called Divine Audacity. We have it in the bookstore. I love this book. I've read it many times. Anyway, it's a really great book about the 12 powers. Much easier to read than Charles Fillmore, just saying. But Linda says this about understanding. Spiritual understanding is comprehending, internalizing, and then living the truth we know. That's using our power of understanding from a Christ consciousness. Understanding dawns over time and through study and reflection, over time and through study and reflection, or it can come in a flash. Suddenly the light shines. Now, in Linda's book, she talks about power of understanding being our ability to comprehend, but to also realize or have insight. And if any of you have ever had a moment where just all of a sudden a light bulb turns on, you just know something. Not because it's something that you studied. It doesn't have to be linear. It doesn't have to be through years of work and coming in. It can come that way. But it also can come in a flash. Just like Paul on the road to Damascus. In a flash, he understood. We too can understand something that quickly in a participatory worldview in the quantum world. That's called a quantum leap. That you don't have to go linearly, is that a word? You don't have to go in a linear way. That you can just leap to a new understanding. And once you have that new understanding, you never go back. You've got it. And so Mary, in her Gospels, is trying to teach this to the apostles. But what happens is that things get in the way from our egos. And those are the 7 egoic powers that she talks about in her Bible, in her Gospel. 7 egoic powers. I'm fascinated with Mary Magdalene. I'm so inspired by her because to be a woman leader in her time took a lot of courage. It took a lot of insight. It took a lot of knowing who she was, remembering who she was. Because women, like I said, were considered subhuman. They were not leaders at that time, but she was. And so when I have some doubts, when I don't feel clear, or when I question, even standing up here, thinking about her, it gives me the strength I need to carry on, to go forth, to knowing that if I'm called to do this, I already have the ability to do it. And the same with all of us. Anything you feel called to do, you already have the talent, you're already equipped, you already have everything you need to do it, or you wouldn't have gotten that calling. And Mary teaches us this. Mary teaches us this. It's beautiful, beautiful way of looking at our life. So the egoic powers, the power of darkness, the ability to not see, to only see what's right, only see with our physical eyes. It's called darkness. There's the power of ignorance. The power of clinging, where we want things to go a certain way and we're so attached to our way. We want to control. Or the power of wrath, and there's other ones too, but all of these are like gatekeepers that keep us from living a life of joy, keep us from living full out, keep us from living the life we came here to live. And Mary teaches the apostles. So in her gospel, the first chapter is missing, so whatever that was, probably in all three that were found, the first chapter is missing, and half of the 7th chapter and all of the 8th chapter are missing. All three of them found in different locations, which is just amazing. There must have been something truly, truly inspirational in those that they felt they had to be separated. But we're not ready. We're not ready. We haven't found them yet because we're not ready for that teaching. Or we have to discern for ourselves, because in the 7th chapter, Jesus is saying, he's cut off mid-sentence. The whole gospel is a dialogue, and he's cut off mid-sentence when he's just telling them how to see something with not your mind, or not with your eyes, to see with your mind. And mind in Greek is nous, N-O-U-S, which looks like a French word meaning we, but in Greek, it means, now I forgot what it means. I'll get back to it. Wait for it. Anyway, it's not there. Maybe it'll come back. But so important for us. So in her gospel, the apostles are weeping and they're scared. It's after the crucifixion. And Mary has already seen Jesus, and he's talking to her. And the apostles are scared. And she stands up. I love this. She stands up. We stand up. Cynthia Bourgeois, I took a class with her on Mary Magdalene, says standing up means you're facing it. You're facing your darkness. You're facing the ignorance. You're facing the clinging. You're facing the wrath. You stand up to it. She stands up and kisses each one of them and says, "Oh, brothers and sisters, didn't he teach us how to be true humans?" Meaning anthropos, meaning fully human, fully divine. Didn't he teach us this? He gave us his grace that we need not be afraid. And so she goes through this, it's called the ascent of the soul. Through her dialogue, she tells them about how the soul goes through these egoic powers and how how they're going to come up for us in our human lives. They're just going to. And we just need to see the love that's beyond them and love ourselves anyway. Love ourselves anyway, to live the life that we want to live. I think I have another quote from Megan Watterson. If we take the Gospel of Mary seriously, if we consider it as sacred and as holy as all the other scripture codified in the New Testament, then a powerful message becomes clear when it's Mary Magdalene who stands up to comfort the disciples after the crucifixion. It's a message we're still trying to live into and fully embody, all of us, no matter who we are, no matter what our physical form looks like. We're all worthy of becoming a voice of love, even in the absence of it. We can be that voice of love, no matter who we are, no matter our stories, our past, the things that happened before. One of the things I love about the song Laura sang is that it assumes a love, a deep love between Jesus and Mary, and I believe there was. Totally. There are a lot of people who think that Jesus and Mary were married. There's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of it, but I believe it's probable and likely that it was. Having them married, there's a new book out by Andrew Harvey called The Magdalene Revolution, and he talks about how important it is to have the divine feminine and the divine masculine in marriage together, combined. That without it, we're fragmented. Without it, we don't see ourselves truly whole as we are. That it has disrupted our lives for generations. Not bringing in the divine feminine and how important it is. In each one of us, regardless of our gender, it's so important to truly see ourselves. Truly see. So last night, Kevin and I rewatched a movie that was out 10 years ago, 2016, called Arrival with Amy Adams. Some of you probably have seen it. If you haven't seen it in 10 years like I had, and I didn't remember any of it. I remembered it was about aliens. That's all I remembered. But this movie is so much like the Mary Magdalene story. So much. Amy Adams plays Dr. Louise Banks, and Louise is the only woman. She's a language specialist. She's the only woman brought in to help them understand these aliens. And she stands up to her fear. She stands up like Mary did. She stands up and she's in with them with the glass between them, but they're wearing all these spacesuits and helmets and oxygen, and she takes it all off. She said, they need to see me. They need to see me. And that's when she starts to be able to understand them. Just like my dream. It's so interesting that I had that dream a night before that. But she starts to understand them. And they want, and these things are like 12 of them throughout on our planet. And everybody's afraid. They're afraid of them. And they want to start a war with them, and they want to shoot them down. And she's like, no, wait, let's communicate. Let's have a conversation. Let's understand what they want. What is their purpose here? And they say something that many people interpreted to be give tool or give weapon. But she said, no, I don't think they mean weapon. I think they mean tool. They want to share a tool with us. And she is able to receive that tool because she's open, because she removes all barriers, because she is in their midst and she's open and receptive, like Mary Magdalene was open and receptive to receiving Jesus after the crucifixion. It so correlates with the story of Mary. It's amazing. So if you haven't seen it, watch it again. But she gets this gift of seeing her whole life in front of her and given the choice. Is she going to live that life knowing all the pain and the joy? Or is she going to make different choices? And she chooses life. We too were invited to choose life. Choose life. Choose life in all its fullness and all its glory and all its messiness. To choose life. And that's what Mary's voice now that was buried for so long is now out and open and speaking to us, and you can hear it in your heart if you listen. To choose life. Stand up to that. Stand up. Choose life. Are you willing to do that? That's your invitation to choose that life, to see somebody for who they are. See yourself for who you are. Remember it. And choose that. Okay, I'm out of time. Namaste. Peace be with you.